Hey everybody, it's Stove Talk with Matt. I came across this very interesting video. There's a stove shop in Germany that refurbishes old tile stoves from like 1880 through 1920. They're calling them Swiss tiled stoves, but I'm sure there's similar stoves produced 100 years ago, Finland, Denmark, Norway, etc. But they call them Swiss. The video's all in German, so there's no reason to turn the sound on. And again, they're calling them Swiss tiled stoves. And as usual, the old technology, just like we see with everything, was far superior to the new technology. And it's not just in stoves, it's pretty much in everything we come across. There's two guys in this shop that get the old stoves and they basically break them down. Every piece is laid out, all the tiles are redone, and they chip off all the old mortar and rebuild the stoves back using these metal frames with new mortar and lining the inside with fire brick. So let me show you what a final one looks like. I think it's at 2310 here. Yeah. Let me pause this. This is when everything's done and somebody will buy these refurbished 10,000 euros, I think it said, to 15,000 euros. So it's treated like an antique, but also, again, this stove, of course, it's like a little mini masonry heater that acts like a masonry heater that stays warm for 10 hours. It's only fired up 2 or 3 times a day. Again, far superior to everything we have in the West. So let me see if I can find the right parts of this video, guys. Get into the guts of the heater. I don't know this video real well. I apologize. I'm going to jump around a lot. Here they're just bringing it in. They're going to complete. It looks like it's in good shape, but the inside, all the mortar's breaking down. It completely has to be redone on the inside with new fire bricks so it can be set up in somebody's house and be good for another 30 or 40 years. And I think at one point one of these two craftsmen says, here it is, where it shows you inside the stove, says, this stove would actually still continue to work for 15 years, even though it's breaking down. And you'll see the firebox is extremely small. The inside is lined with the clay and whatever the old mortar they used, refractory mortar, whatever they used, they don't say, in 1880 through 1920. And they line with the refractory mortar, they line the inside with little stones and rocks and pebbles, as well as some of these stoves have more rocks inside. This one has what you considered more of a traditional, like a fire brick. But there's a channel. The top of the stove is channels. So this is the firebox down here. I'll show you. It's very, very small. The door to the firebox is just 6 inches by 6 inches. It's a tiny little door. And that's part of the design of the stove. I'll talk about that later. And of course, just like a masonry heater or a Russian stove, the flame and the gases rush up here. And I don't know they don't talk about the exact channel design up top. It's very thin, probably down here. This fire brick is higher than this one, so hits this fire brick, dives down here, goes underneath, and then this is the exit or the chimney or flue out the back. They all have a little bit different design, but he did say they will try, if they can get the gases and the flame to travel over 2 meters and touch, I don't know, 100 or more, or 150 different tiles and fire bricks along that 2 meter run, that before it exits, 2 meters of traveling before it exits, that'll be enough to warm everything up. And of course, this thing, like a little masonry heater, just stays hot for, that's where he says, yep, there, and then up, down, up, and then through, and then out. And let me bounce around here, guys. Again, I don't know this. There's the guts of it again. You can actually see some rocks as they chip away. There's stones in there. They've put stones and rocks in the mortar. Somehow that holds it together. They don't say, the clay or sand mixture for the inside or the refractory that protects the tile. They don't really say what they use. That tile does need to be protected. I mean, terracotta is fired to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. Or more, but you cannot put terracotta tile right into flame. It will crack. Even flue liners that they sell, those terracotta flue liners for chimneys, they're fine if they're 4 or 5 feet higher than the flame. If you put, even for chimneys and fireplaces, if you put terracotta right in flame, it will crack as well. These tiles are super thick. but they will crack as well. They need to be protected and mortared over with at least an inch of whatever they use on the outside. So they chip out the old mortar, and then they'll insert fire brick, and hopefully they get the pieces out intact. If there's any little cracks, they meticulously repair the cracks. It's pretty interesting. I'll leave a link, guys, if you want to see the whole video, but it's in German. I'm going to show you a lot of it here. I don't think there's any real reason to watch it other than what we're going to cover here. So just every little piece is taken out. The most important part is to save the tile and keep the tile intact, because they can rebuild the guts of it with fire brick and rebuild the channels. And look how, let me go back. Look how small that door is. If I can go back here. Where is it? Look how small that door is. Well, I probably lost it. It's hard to navigate this. I'm just looking at the little thumbnails at the bottom to see where we should go next. They have from all the stoves that they've collected up or been shipped to them over how many ever years they've been doing this refurbishment. They have, like he said, hundreds and hundreds of doors. They can then, as they refurbish, they can go to rebuild back, and they have clients willing to pay up to 15,000 euros to put these antiques, but they're not just antiques. The person, you'll see the person in this guy's household here who's paid for that refurbishment. Is this the area where? Yeah. Well, I'm not sure this is the one that they talk about later. They show a family burning the stove. It's not just an antique. I mean, they use these things in the home as well to heat the home. And so yeah, everything is broken down to just the metal frame. They all seem to have this metal frame, and they rebuild everything back piece by piece. So the tile is laid first, then the inside is lined with refractory mortar and fire brick. And let's see. That's the old refractory that they chipped out. I think they try to use everything and recycle everything again. So let me go back. That's a pretty good shot there. I don't think he talks about exactly what the old refractory is. But again, I'll leave a link. This is not a stove channel or anything. That's doing this. There's not a lot of stove information. It's a channel on YouTube that's interested in other things. So he's wetting everything down, getting it ready for the refractory. A lot of these tiles were cracked, and they glued them back together somehow. And again, this isn't a stove channel. I'm not going to tell you exactly what mortar mix or refractory that they're putting on here on the inside. Again, the tiles absolutely have to be protected from the direct flame. They will crack. In my opinion, you'd have to have at least a 1/2 inch to a 3/4 inch. And it's not just the mortar they're putting over. They're also lining most of it with fire brick, even though the first part here is just filling all the cracks in with this mortar. I don't know. If I was doing it, I'm no expert like these guys, but I would use 3 parts sand, 1 part clay, fire clay, but also put in a good part lime, and maybe a tiny little touch of cement. I know cement and the hydrated lime doesn't really hold up, but if it's just a small portion of the mix with clay and 3 parts sand to 1 part clay, I think it holds everything together. And I think that does hold up, adding 1 part lime to 3 parts sand to 1 part clay. You could, even a little, well, I guess there'd be no reason for perlite. It would just kill the strength. All right, well, let's get, this is one they've made complete. Look how beautiful that is, installed in some rich guy's home. And his wife saying, "We love it. We love that." I don't know what she's saying. It's all in German. They love it. The kids love it. And they burn it. Do they burn it? Let's see. Light the thing. Oh, I don't know. Again, I'm sorry. There's where the kids, the kids like it. Oh, they burn it. Yeah, see, the firebox is tiny. You have to use tiny little pieces. Let me go back. Tiny little pieces of wood. And I'll talk about... they talk about the small firebox actually bringing everything up in the stove to temperature more quickly. I'll talk about that later. Look at that stove on the left. Man, is that nice. Now, he's asked, for the refurbishment, he's asked for a glass door. And, of course, none of the old ones had a glass door. Definitely soak your fire brick before applying the mortar. Fire brick will absorb all the water out of your mortar, rendering it pretty useless. at least dunk your fire brick under water for a few seconds before applying your refractory mortar. If you're using 3 part sand and 1 part clay, it should still be dunked, but it doesn't have to be as wet. So here the fire brick is being applied on the inside of the tile, and they've already put some sort of mortar into the tile there. You can't see the tile anymore because they filled it up with a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch of another type of refractory to I don't know what they're using, they don't say, but then they're lining everything with fire brick. I do talk about it. That's not just to protect the tiles. Every pound of fire brick you put in is just another pound that will heat up and hold mass, that will hold heat. Most of the cheaper fire brick holds heat as well as red brick does. You got to be careful though. If you buy fire brick on Amazon or online, you can get much more expensive. It's called the reflecting fire brick, used for kilns and little mini foundries people have to smelt in their backyard or whatever. That's a reflective fire brick that does not hold any heat. It withstands up to 2,500 degrees, 3,000 degrees, much higher, but it doesn't. It's a reflective fire brick. For a masonry heater, we want a heat absorbing fire brick, which is, the price is so much cheaper. I guess sometimes to get 3 reflecting fire bricks, it's like for 3 bricks it can be like $7 or $8. So anyway, they're much harder as well, the heat absorbing fire bricks. So people have made that mistake. They go to get fire bricks and they get they're soft, light, reflecting fire bricks, and most of the time we don't want those in our masonry heaters. So let me go back. This is kind of a key part. They don't show you the guts of what he's doing too much, but I'm still going to go back here. It's just I just have 1 second to pause it here. Okay, I had to pause this so I could tell you a little bit how it works. They only show you the guts of the refurbished stove and how the channels work for 1 second here. I'll show it to you. And I had to do the best I could to see how this thing works. This is not a stove channel. Again, they don't explain anything. No reason to go rewatch the video. But I'm pretty sure I have this right. Firebox, again, is very, very small. I will show you that before I end the video, I promise. I probably skipped over it. The gases and the flame come up here first. They come up the front of this stove. He's about to put the cap on. I'll show you. I only had 1 second to freeze this. The flames then pour over this first this first wall of fire brick. Come up here. This is the tunnel to the firebox. Come over this, go down this channel, down, underneath here, and then up this channel and out. It will not be a flue that's in the back. It will be a chimney or flue that's on top, and it will be here, the chimney. This is very interesting. This is like a mini dry slot or dry slit or dry joint in a Russian stove. Is a little carved indentation that looks to be about 2 inches long by 1 inch deep. And this just helps with initial draft, getting the stove started initially. Flames will pour up here. And of course, most, because they're going to hit this wall here, will be driven down. But just enough. This is very important in understanding stove design. Just enough will get through here and be able to escape up the pipe or the chimney here to help initiate draft. They don't talk in any way about having to prime these stoves. I mean, is this enough to prime them? Probably is. I mean, these old stove makers knew what they were doing. But if this little gap, again, flame comes roaring up here, and let's just say this gap was filled in, then all flame and gases have to shoot down low, another 8 inches down across the bottom and up here. But if you have a cold stove, you just can't, and you have a small firebox, you just can't expect this to work. You light that firebox. If this didn't exist, you light the firebox, and all the smoke and hot gases want to find the easiest way out. You'll smoke your house out. It'll come just flooding out into your living room. So I'm just, we just have to guess here. It doesn't say about priming or anything like that. Is this enough? This little, 2 inches by 1 inch? It could be just enough to, on the initial light, to have gases come flying up here and maybe just I don't know, 8% of the emissions, 8 to 10% of the emissions would go through this little gap and immediately find their way out of the chimney. So it creates a situation where the stove on the initial light up when it's cold will not back up. I assure you 100% if this was all filled in and this was a solid fire brick, you could not light this cold without smoking your house out. There's just no way. Well, I don't want to say no way, but if in a cold stove, hot gases and flame don't want to go up, down, out. They'll just want to shoot right out the door. So this might be enough. Man, I'd love to know that and what these stove makers think, but we'll never know. Either way, it really helps, on initial draft. And it could be the type of stove where in a real cold climate, you might get a little smoke for a minute or two or three or four out the front door the first time you light it. But if you keep everything hot and light this stove up once a day for 6 to 8 weeks straight during the coldest months, if everything stays warm and you don't allow it to go ice cold, it will maintain its draft. So they might have in the old days say, hey, we might smoke ourselves out a bit for a few minutes when we initially light it, and this little gap will help. But if we light it every day, everything stays warm. We don't have to worry about it unless it goes ice cold again. That is a concept for large European masonry heaters and Russian stoves, to light them at least once a day with no days off so they maintain their draft, because many of the Russian stoves and European masonry heaters, of course, they're a pain to get primed properly and to have everything flow in the right direction. Okay, guys, there is one other brief segment where they show the guts of the stove right here. And I kind of showed you a minute back what it looks like when it's finished. But could there be this many channels? He's building it up. I mean, he'll put probably another fire brick on top. You can see these grooves hold the fire brick. But this is definitely where it comes from, the Firebox. We're always, I do this series called This Stove Explained. I'm always trying to figure out how it works. Definitely comes up from the Firebox here. We'll go down here. Could it possibly go down under this fire brick? Of course, he's going to put more on top to make it more of a wall. Up here, up this one, over, down this one, and then up here. I think that's one lifting channel. That's a down. That's a lifting. That's a down. That's a lifting. 3 lifting channels and 2 down channels. It may be 5 channels. Of each one about 10 to 12 inches before it comes up. Let's continue, guys. I think that's what it is. Each channel is very thin and small, but the Firebox I'll show you is very small. Yeah, 3 lifting channels, 2 down channels. And again, that's not the final there. That's not the final of he's building this up, and he'll put more on top here. But of course, they don't show it to you. They don't care about people in this video that are interested in stove design. That's all they show you. It'll stop in just a second. That's it. See? Thanks a lot. Thanks for showing us. One other thing I wanted to show you. There it is, guys. I don't know if you can. There's the 2 inches by 1 inch. That's that little dry slot that allows it hurts the efficiency of the stove once it's started, of course, because it's a lot of gases are escaping directly out and not following the channels. But this is necessary to prime the thing. Very interesting. And that's it. They don't show you. That's kind of what I showed you before. See, I had like 1 second to pause it. See, that's it. Let me go back again. I'm sure we saw 3 lifting channels. We got to be quick here. Pause. 3 lifting channels and 2 down channels. And of course, they place some fire bricks on top, including this here, so we can't really see what's happening. But that's what it is. All right, let's finish up with this. This is when they're breaking it down. This isn't them rebuilding it. They're breaking this down. So here's the door, 2 fire brick ceiling, and then 1 brick opening allows the hot gases and the flames to shoot up into the chambers up top where the gases are wound up and down like a masonry heater. Continue playing it. I'm back to the 8-minute mark. This is before they completely broke it down. Okay, it's that same tiny little Firebox where he shows 16 centimeters just about 6 inches, and it's square. 6 inches by 6 inches. So inside, the Firebox would probably only be 10 to 12 inches high by 12 to 14 inches deep. Very, very small. And you'll see later, well, I might, when he burns it, the wood, they pack it with wood. They say initial real hot burn temperatures are necessary. Packed with small wood in a small firebox creates the tremendous heat they need for this stove to be efficient and to absorb a lot of heat. But he said the small firebox is part of, what makes this stove work. I mean, he said something like it achieves super hot temperatures much more quickly because everything is, and it's a great stove as well. The air is not coming in through the door over fire brick. It's coming up underneath through the ash door through a grate, which does create so much air is flooding over the wood. It does create the combustion is much, much greater. You get a higher temperature much more quickly with a grate stove than a hearth stove. So here he's just breaking it down, and there's your grate underneath. And again, most of the Russians, 95% of Russian stoves use a grate underneath the wood. Now they're burned twice a day, and they don't have, in the morning there's no coals. With a grate you don't get coals. You have to relight every single time. But when you have a grate and all that air flooding over all your wood in your firebox, you get huge combustion temperatures. You get less smoke. There's much less smoke on a grate stove where the air is coming up and surrounding all parts of the wood than you get through a hearth stove where the air comes from the front or through the door. I would say 60% less smoke. And if the thing with these stoves, I think they even say it's low emissions. If you, with the grate and all the air flooding around the whole firebox, and it's not a small amount of wood, it's a lot of wood, but small pieces all packed together, you get full combustion. And I've found with a small firebox, this fire brick absorbs heat, but it also reflects as well. So your temperatures in the firebox will very quickly get over 1,000 degrees. And once that happens, all smoke is just eaten up. I would say with these stoves, after the first 5 to 7 minutes of burning, you won't see any smoke out the chimney at all. The temperature, you don't need secondary air or any of these rocket stove tricks. The temperature in the firebox is so small, is so intense, every bit of smoke is burned up. And then as the channels get hotter and hotter, at least for the first 1 meter of the run, the smoke's going to be burned up along the run too. So it's probably smoke-free. Sometimes you see these masonry heaters with this huge firebox where you could lay in a 27-inch or 28-inch pieces of oak in all different directions. Those fireboxes are just too wide. They allow too much air. And if too much air is air conditioning. If it's not, I like tight, thin, high fireboxes that reflect heat back and create huge, 1,000 degree plus temperatures very quickly that eat up all the smoke. Anyway, guys, I guess that's it. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much for being here.